There is a story about Jesus that I think many people make too simple. A poor widow walks into the temple treasury and gives two small coins. I'm sure you know the story. Jesus says she gave more than everyone else because she gave all she had. Now, if you've heard that story, you probably have an understanding of generosity from it because most of the time people turn that message into a message of generosity. But there's a harder question sitting right in the middle of the story. And as I was discussing it with our team here in Vandergraph, a question came up that I hadn't thought of before. If Jesus knew those were her last two coins, why didn't he stop her? I think that question matters because God didn't need her money and the temple did not need her two coins. And this woman was not giving from comfort. She was not giving from extra. She didn't have a large savings account with overflow and abundance. Jesus said she gave everything she had to live on. Think about that. Everything. Imagine going to church this morning and when the plate comes around, giving everything. Would you do it? Why did Jesus watch it happen? Why did he let a poor widow give her last two coins into a religious system that he had already been criticizing? Think about it. Right before the woman showed up, Jesus was talking to his disciples, and he warned them about religious leaders who love attention, honor, long robes, important seats, public prayers, and religious respect. Then he says something severe. He says to them, they devour widows' houses. And then, almost immediately, a widow comes forward and gives everything she has left. Now, that's not a random detail, and I really want you to think about this story, because Jesus is not only praising her, he's also exposing something. He's showing his disciples what happens when religion becomes impressive on the outside, but loses the heart of God on the inside. Think about the scene. Rich people are giving large amounts. Their gifts make noise. Their offerings look important. People can count them. People can admire them. People can say, look how much they gave. Then this widow comes. Two coins, barely anything in the eyes of the crowd. But Jesus stops his disciples and says, in effect, look at her. Not because the temple needed her money, not because God was short on resources. He's not. Not because Jesus wanted poor people pressured into giving what they need to survive. He called his disciples over because they were about to miss the most important person in the room. The crowd saw two coins. Jesus saw the cost. The temple saw a small offering. Jesus saw a daughter. The religious system received what she gave. Jesus understood what it meant for her to give it. That is the lesson. Jesus does not measure your life by what other people can count. He sees what it costs. You see, people measure size. Jesus measures sacrifice. People notice what looks impressive. Jesus notices what was hard. People applaud what is public. Jesus honors what is hidden. Now, those two coins may have meant almost nothing to the temple treasury, but they meant everything to that woman. They carried tomorrow's hunger. They carried uncertainty. They carried trust. They carried fear. They carried her faith. And Jesus himself saw all of it. But we cannot stop there, because this story is not just about the widow's faith. It's also about the failure of everyone around her. That's why this story should bother us. How does a widow get to the point where she's giving her last 2 coins and nobody in the temple seems concerned about whether she is going to eat? How does a religious system receive everything a poor woman has left and keep moving like nothing sacred has happened? How do people praise sacrifice but ignore suffering? That's the tension Jesus wants his disciples to feel. He did not stop the widow from by grabbing her hand. He didn't stop his disciples from ignoring her. Both matter, because you see, Jesus was not going to shame her in public. He was not going to turn her poverty into a spectacle. He was not going to take away her dignity in the middle of her worship. But he also was not going to let his followers walk past her like everyone else was. So he made them look. He made them see what real cost looks like. He made them see what false religion can do when it knows how to collect offerings but forgets how to care for people. And that's where this world has moved, unfortunately, and that's where this becomes a word for us. Do not use this widow to pressure hurting people. Do not turn her into a fundraising slogan. Do not say she gave everything, so you should too, while ignoring the fact that Jesus had just condemned leaders who devoured widows' houses. That misses the heart of the story. You see, Jesus was not teaching his disciples how to take more from the poor. He was teaching them how to see. He was teaching them that God notices the person everyone else overlooks. He was teaching them that a small gift from a suffering person may carry more faith than a large gift from someone who never feels it. But he was also teaching them that the kingdom of God must never become the kind of place where vulnerable people are used and then praised for surviving it. That's the point. If someone gives their last 2 coins, the response should not only be admiration, it should be care. It should be responsibility. It should be love. Do not just say, "What an amazing faith," and then leave the widow hungry. Do not just call someone strong while refusing to help carry what is crushing them. Do not praise the offering and forget the giver. Jesus refused to ignore her, and he refused to let his disciples ignore her. So, if you are the one down to 2 coins today, I want you to hear this. Jesus sees you. He sees what it costs you to keep going. He sees the strength it takes for you to pray when you are tired. He sees the faith it takes for you to show up when you feel empty. He sees the love you keep giving when you barely feel held yourself. Other people may look at your life and think it is small. Jesus sees the whole cost. And if you are not the widow in this story, then maybe the lesson is even stronger. Look for her. Look for the person giving everything just to survive. Look for the person everyone calls strong, but nobody checks on. Look for the person whose 2 coins may not be money at all. It may be energy, hope, patience, courage, faith. One more day. And when you see that person, do not just admire them. Love them. Help them. Notice them. Because in the temple that day, the world saw a poor widow give 2 coins. Jesus saw a daughter giving everything, and he made sure his disciples saw her too. My name is Douglas Vandergraph, and I believe in Jesus Christ. God bless every single one of you. Every single one. Bye-bye.